So in this week's video we're taking a slightly different view. Rather than our usual GDPR versus, we're actually going to be looking at the recent news of the intention by the ICO to fine British Airways for a significant data breach which happened mid last year. In this video we're going to look at what the intention to fine means. We're going to be looking at the instance of the breach and also whether or not the breach itself or the fine is actually a significant activity in the realm of GDPR and what it's potentially going to mean for businesses and organisations as they battle GDPR over the coming months. As always, if you find the information useful or you find the video useful, please do give us a comment and give us a share as well. And if there's anything in particular that you'd like us to cover, please do let us know and we'd be happy to look at doing something on that basis as well. So the first thing that we really want to talk about today, and it's been talked about a lot online, is that the notification or the news that came out from the ICO was that they are intending to fine British Airways £183 million. Now the key here is that it's an intention, so they've issued a notice of intention to British Airways saying that they are going to put forward their proposal to fine British Airways £183 million. That does not mean that British Airways have been fined £183 million. They now have the opportunity to put out their defence and try and bring that fine down. There are a number of things that they can do to try and bring that down. They can demonstrate mitigation, they can demonstrate what controls they had in place, and if they don't choose to appeal the fine, they can also take advantage of an early payment discount, a bit like you do with a parking ticket, and that could be up to about £30 million. I think the early payment reduction could knock off the total of their fine. But the first thing to point out here is that they haven't been fined, they've just been notified that the intention of a fine is being laid in front of them. So what happened? Why are BA being issued with such an intention? Well, BA had updated some payment scripture using JavaScript on their website, and that hadn't been managed properly, and somebody found a vulnerability within that and actually created a false website that looked like a BA website, and when individuals went to make a payment through the BA website, it directed them to a false website where their information and their personal details and their credit card and payment card information was collected by another organisation, another criminal faction for all we are aware. The information collected related to about 500,000 individuals, and there's approximately 380,000 transactions. So it's a significant amount of information, but also we're talking about personal information, we're talking about payment information, and we're talking about the 3 digits at the end of a credit card. So enough information for somebody to conduct financial fraud and to take money from people's accounts. The second issue here, really for the ICO, is that it took them 4 months from the point at which the incident occurred, so the incident occurred in June. It took them 4 months through till September to actually fully identify and then report the incident. Now, under the rules of the GDPR, you have 72 hours to report a significant breach or an incident that is likely to have a significant impact on the rights or freedoms of an individual to the regulator, and obviously that's not apparent to have been the case here, and that may be another reason why the fine is being levied at such a level against British Airways. It's important though to point out here that as of today we are not aware of any impact or any loss that any individual within that breach has actually suffered, and nobody has reported to British Gas that there has been any impact or any direct loss. So the fine is not being levied on that basis. The fine is being levied on the basis that they didn't have appropriate technical, organisational or security controls in place to understand that they had a breach and how to stop that breach from happening. They're not being fined because people have lost out at the minute, as far as we know. So is the breach significant? Is the fine significant? The breach in itself, I think it is significant. It's not a small number of people, but it's by no way and no means a large-scale attack. When you look at some of the attacks that have occurred in recent years, there have been instances where hundreds of millions of records have been accessed. When you're looking at what happened to LinkedIn, the breach is far bigger than what's happened here, but the significance of the information is really important. For me, the fine itself, although it's a big number, appears to be very significant, and it's the first time that the ICO or the regulator has really been able to bare its teeth under the GDPR. But actually 183 million is between 1.5% of British Airways annual turnover, or IAG, British Airways parent company. And under the regulation, the parent company, so the group's annual turnover, so the global annual turnover, is what the fine is levied against. So actually, you are looking at about a 1% fine, or just under 1% fine, which for an organisation the size of British Airways isn't actually that significant. But in terms of data protection regulation, in terms of the fines that we've seen, obviously 183 million is a significant fine. So I think this is really going to kickstart people to take things slightly more seriously and take more of an interest, and it will certainly push the boards to be more interested, but it is in no way demonstrating the level of power that can be used should the matter be deemed serious enough. So for me, because of that, while I think this is significant and it's an important turning point in the regulation, an important turning point in the industry, I don't think this is the most significant incident or the most significant fine that we're going to see, just on the basis that, yes, there was a number of records, but no one really suffered any direct harm, and actually the level of fine that has been issued based on the turnover and based on the fining regime that is available is not actually that great. So for me, this is not particularly significant at this time in terms of regulator activity and in terms of fining regime. That's it for me today. Hopefully we'll be back next week with another video. If you do have any questions, please do drop us a note. As always, the website runs across the bottom of the screen and you can catch my email at the end, but we look forward to talking to you all again soon.